Ken Hardy, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm excellent, James. I hope you're doing well yourself.
I mean, it's as good as it gets on this side of the world, I think. I'll take it, that's for sure. Uh,
Well, I'm sitting in sunny Miami, Florida, where it's pouring down rain, so it's not so sunny.
well, it's inevitable in Miami, right?
Exactly.
So the sun will be out once again.
You can count on that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we usually start these off with a question that's kind of tailored to the guest's expertise, and I can't think of a better situation for you to explain to us than kind of uh, in the world of fantastical, self-defense scenarios that people dream up in their head. Okay, I'm carrying a firearm. If things get out of hand, I'm going to pull it and defend what is important to me. In that scenario, um, what what are the things that people miss from the moment that gun comes out, goes off, and it gets reholstered? Like, what are the things that don't fall into that sort of mindset, or that what's playing out in their head?
um, I think most individuals who are concealed carrying or vigilant in defending themselves and about defending themselves are not aware of what's going to happen next. And when I do my speaker series, I title it "What Happens After Bang," and bang not having to be a gunshot; it can be any kind of
I love
culmination
that title.
of an event. Yeah, it's a great title. I stole it. I didn't actually create it, so
Hey, it's great.
it's all right. What what most individuals are unaware of, and this is sad to me. I think it's what drives me in the work that I do, is to educate folks about what the aftermath is, and
Sure.
they do not understand really about how their life is going to change emotionally, psychologically, physically, and most importantly, legally. And if they haven't prepared for the legal aspect of an aftermath of a particularly a deadly force incident, they're going to get a big surprise because their perception of our judicial system most likely comes from uh, either TV or movies or whatever their documentaries they've watched. And it's hard to get a real feel for it because it's a bad place to find yourself. It's
Oof.
an expensive place to find yourself. And one of my cohorts likes to use the phrase, you'll get all the justice you can afford in the US judicial system.
And that's a good way to look at it.
It's a
Wow.
great
Yeah.
way to look at it. And I have a law enforcement background. In my law enforcement background, I saw people who just didn't have the resources to fight a case
Sure.
and who would plead guilty just because they had nowhere to go. And the court system, which is backed by the government, ultimately has ultimate power. And you can say, well, that's not right, but things get done that aren't right sometimes. And if
Yeah.
it's not right and your life changes because of it, it's a very earth shattering experience for folks.
Yeah. I need to thank you for getting me sort of tuned up and, you know, plugged into this whole post, violence sort of framework that you have presented it with a number of different companies, and you really opened my eyes to it and put me and my wife in a situation where we're much safer now because of that. So I do owe you a thank you on that.
You're
Um,
welcome.
so how did you go from police work to protecting the people and their right to defend themselves
Well,
from
there
the
was a big gap in between police work and where I am now. Spent a lot of time in the recreational scuba diving business, and I ran charter boats and lived kind of the Jimmy Buffett life in
Nothing
Florida.
wrong with that.
No, it was good, and I
Probably
sometimes.
needed it after police work, I bet.
Oh yeah, it was a good decompression. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a good experience. But I found myself after kind of getting mostly out of the scuba diving industry. I still have some ties to it, but I found an opportunity to work for a legal defense company that is focused primarily on giving legal defense protection to people
Okay.
who carry firearms. And I've been in this about 9 years now. And what drives me is what I mentioned before. I know that folks have no idea what's going to happen to their life after a
Yeah.
self defense incident. and they can't imagine that because they're a good guy and they acted in self-defense, that that good guy role doesn't really matter, and too many other things can upset all of that. Um, so I've found myself, the more I do this, the more I realize people are not educated
Yeah.
about the aftermath. And honestly, I support everyone's right to have firearms, the Second Amendment, to carry a firearm.
Oh yeah.
And but the ironic thing I find about it is that people don't educate themselves on the whole picture when it comes to a self-defense incident. And
Oh
I'd much rather they be less proficient with a firearm and more proficient in situational awareness, the law pertaining to legal self-defense,
yeah.
the fact that every step of a legal self-defense incident can still lead to prosecution for a whole lot of reasons. Uh, Bad police investigation, bad witness testimony, um, um, advocates against the Second Amendment who are in prosecutorial roles,
Oh,
and they can use their power um,
that's
to
the worst.
yes, it is the worst, and they hold a lot of power in their position, and unfortunately, some of them are careless with it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see people in those positions of power that are conscientious, that don't want to ruin a life just so they can put another another mark in the win column. And
I mean,
that's
these
where,
are enemies of the state, in my opinion, Ken.
well,
You know what I mean?
I couldn't
It's
agree more.
terrible.
And of course, I want every person that does something intentionally bad, I want them to pay for that. But the problem with the concealed carry world, the self defense world, and when I say self defense, I'm not talking martial arts, but people who are vigilant, who are going to carry something to protect themselves,
Right.
whether it's a collapsible baton, pepper spray, whatever it might be, that they understand the consequences of their action in self defense. And it's an entire world of lack of knowledge that I'm
Yeah.
finding to be 90% ignorance of what's going to happen, and 10% people who are vigilant and who train more and train outside of just firearms and the few hours it takes to get a concealed carry permit.
Yeah, you really opened my eyes to the hard part is not learning to use the gun and carrying it and even acting in that crazy situation. The hard part comes after. I mean, really, fundamentally, when you
True.
really think about it, because then you're stepping into this world of ignorance and money. Like, I don't know, and it's money on top of it.
And it's all money.
Yeah,
And I'm not saying that the system is designed uh, to be corrupt. It's just that that's what it takes to successfully and um, to protect yourself with a good representative of the law.
sure.
It starts in a just to give perspective. If you are involved in a self-defense homicide where you've taken a life, that's a murder case, and it's just because you're a good guy doesn't mean it's not a murder because a
Right.
person died at the hands of another person or because of not being natural causes. And the starting retainer fee for a competent criminal defense attorney is about 60,000 and up to 100,000 and more. And the company I worked for had a self-defense a member who was charged with murder after escaping his attacker 3 times. And we spent,
Wow.
yeah. So if you don't think the system can be convoluted, that's a great one for discussion for a lot of things. And we spent $400,000 defending him between independent investigation, between revisiting autopsy reports, between revisiting witness statements, and the
That
whole
is unbelievable.
process. Yeah, and that's what people are facing. Um, I have an issue, just to kind of segue a little bit. I have an issue with constitutional carry because it says, yeah, you can carry a concealed firearm in your state, and we're okay with that. And we
Right.
don't care if you know anything about the law or a firearm.
Oh,
And
that's a good point. Yeah.
it's kind of sending lambs to the slaughter.
Right. You pull the gun out, you got 16 different charges just for pulling it out. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that you didn't even know were a thing.
And maybe a situation you could have avoided, and now there's a person dead and another person's life in jeopardy
Wow.
for whatever happens. I find it fascinating that the world of training and the world of concealed carry classes and what have you really is disconnected from what I'm talking about and what I do.
Oh, until I met you, no idea. Until I had that first conversation we had together, half of the stuff that you told me never crossed my mind one time.
Right.
Really. And that's that gap that you guys fill that is incredible. So
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
What is your class going to be about? Is it going to touch on these fundamentals, on these sort of high level things, or?
Actually, yes. My What Happens After Bang class at Prepper Camp is essentially a 45-minute to an hour version of what we're talking about. This is the condensed version. I portray specific incidences that people can learn from in my presentation. And I also do another class, situational awareness, which ties in and dovetails with this very, very topic.
It's a great skill. It might be the most important skill. I've been thinking a lot about situational awareness these days, and it really is a monumental skill.
Without question, because, I'm an individual who had law enforcement career under all kinds of different situations. I understand reaction to certain things, and I'll react with a different level of excitement, if you will, than the average person, because we've kind of been there, done that.
Right.
And what people need to learn is to train themselves and their emotion and their psychology to be aware, because knowledge is power, and being aware in a situation is a way of making yourself more comfortable with the situation, and having the knowledge of, this feels like a bad situation. I don't think I'm going to go over there or down that alley, or that guy walking over there at the grocery store, he's just acting strange. Now, maybe he's just got some kind of a personal problem, but if I'm aware of that guy, my whole world is open to a better reaction to whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so valuable. It's one, you can't buy gear for it, and you can't dress it up, so it's one of those things that doesn't get the attention it deserves. But situational awareness is, if you could attend that course, those of you out there watching, definitely go to that one, because yeah, the best fight to get into is the one that never happens, right?
That's exactly right. All of us in this world of self-defense, we're all about avoidance.
Yeah.
And the people who are in positions to influence people who don't really understand the whole concept are not about avoidance. They're supporting confrontation and take them out and that kind of thing. And avoidance is the key. And it's not your job as a citizen to enforce law and what have you. It's your job as an armed citizen to protect yourself and potentially others. But there are so many boxes that need to be checked before you get to that.
That's it. Yeah, that is the key. So what are you looking forward to, Ken? I mean, you'll be down here in the scene behind us, hanging out with all of us as per usual. What kind of things are you looking forward to at Prepper Camp 2025?
Well, I love seeing some of the new products that people bring to Prepper Camp. And sometimes it's pretty unusual, pretty creative. I think mostly what I like is the community of the Prepper folks. It's
unbeatable.
Great time to get together with like-minded individuals. And what I would like to convey is, people think that preppers are some unusual group of people out stomping around in the woods. And they're not. They're good people like anyone else, and they just have a mindset of I don't want to say survival, but the reality of life and the reality of surviving if something happens that would be a monumental disaster. Last year, for example, with Hurricane Helene. And in fact, we couldn't even get there because the roads were out and the storms were so bad. And at my home, I had some minor stuff that I had to deal with. And so But I always look forward to the group. Rick and Jane and all the other guys are Ken and Chin. Those guys are all great guys, and it's just a great 3 days of community.
I think it's going to be another great year for sure. And we have, so it's September 26th, 27th, 28th, 2025, Prepper Camp 2025, folks. If you didn't get your tickets, you missed the 25% off deal. But the good news is we're in July and you still have a chance to get the tickets at a discount. So come to the number one self-reliance and homesteading show in the country by a long shot. The camping out, the whole thing. I mean, the camaraderie, the events in the evening. Ken, do you come to the Saturday night events and that kind of stuff? Have you ever been to those?
I do. It depends on if I'm staying at Prepper Camp, then I do. If I sometimes my work has me doing other things and I can't be there on
I gotcha.
Saturday night. And but I love that. I love that evening, by the way, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of good stuff goes on.
I always feel like that's the evening when it really becomes camp, because
Yes.
everybody's together and it's almost like some kind of weird prep or summer camp. We're all together under the big tent and celebrating, and round of applause for volunteers and speakers and all that kind of stuff. It's a blast, man.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
It's a great opportunity, and anybody who hasn't experienced it and could have the opportunity to experience it should make time for it, because it just makes you feel better about the world.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Ken. Thanks for coming on today. And anybody who wants to sign up for that legal protection can do it at Prepper Camp too, right? At your booth.
Yes, they can. We'll be there signing folks up.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thanks so much, sir. And I'll see you at Prepper Camp.
All right, James. Take care. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Have a great 4th.
You too, man. See ya.